Hi everyone! Please give me a like and subscribe for more videos!
These luxurious, decadent coffee bars are an absolute crowd pleaser, and they're gonna just fly. I'm lying to you. I really don't know how I feel about these things, but since the whole point of this channel is to share even the things I'm not super proud of, I'll show you how I made these. I bet you could do something better. Here's how I made the base layer. I started with half of one of these cute little pumpkins that they sell in the stores this time of year. It ended up being about a cup. You'd use canned pumpkin if you have a life, because these take a while to roast. Anyway, I put it in the food processor with just a little water to get it to blend more easily. In my last video when I made pumpkin brownies, I started them off with a boiling syrup. Here I'm doing something similar. I have a cup of sugar and a half cup of water in there. Last time, I waited for it to get well above the boiling point of water to dump the pumpkin in, but this time, I put the pumpkin in earlier and stirred it around while it was close to boiling point. My reasoning for this was to drive off excess water, both from the added water and from the pumpkin itself. I had this over medium heat and let it boil for about 10 minutes. It's pumpkin syrup right now. Add some pumpkin spice to that and I bet it'd taste pretty good over vanilla ice cream. I turned the heat off. This was still really hot. I wish I'd let a spoon of it cool down enough to taste test though. It cools down when I put the rest of the ingredients in. First is a stick of butter. The heat melted it pretty quickly. Next the spices went in. I did a teaspoon of pumpkin spice and a quarter teaspoon of ginger, which is a flavor in pumpkin spice that I wanted to amplify in the base layer. After giving it a whisk, I checked the temperature and it was around 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is cool enough for the egg yolk to go in. I think the white would have reintroduced too much water and therefore it was left out. I added a cup of flour and mixed it in. Being a very viscous mix, this was hard to transfer to the pan. I'm not sure what size cake pan this is, but if you must know, I'll measure it just for you. With the assistance of a wooden spoon and gravity, I managed to get it to mostly cover the bottom. It ended up being a good thing that there was a little space between the edge of the pan and the dessert, which you'll see later. This went into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. It was still a little squishy after that, so I put it in for another 10. Remember, this is acting like a crust, so I wanted to have some rigidity. I was disappointed in the lack of orange color. If you also care about such things, maybe canned pumpkin would work better, since it's a little darker. I called it done at this point and moved on to making the custard. I had the other half of that pumpkin in here. I added a little milk to help it blend. I didn't feel it totally necessary to have the other half of the pumpkin in there, but I didn't have any other uses for it. With that transferred to a measuring cup, I added about a cup of strongly brewed coffee. Then I added a little bit of half and half to bring the total volume just above 2 cups. Here I am doing something I wish I hadn't. I added a spoonful of cocoa to darken the mix because I wanted to have color contrast between the two layers. This ended up darkening after it gelled anyway, and that made it look like chocolate. This pan should have had sugar and cornstarch waiting for me there, but I didn't think to add them until later. For the filling, I used a teaspoon of pumpkin spice plus a quarter teaspoon of nutmeg for extra emphasis on the nutmeg. That's just what I felt like doing. Do it however you want. I remembered the sugar finally. Then I added an overflowing half cup of cornstarch. I'm glad I didn't add any more. Last thing to add was the egg yolks. As long as you break them up before you turn the heat on, they don't curdle. Now with the heat on, I stirred this continuously until it started to thicken up. It will look more appetizing eventually, I promise. It gets these weird chunks in there, but they eventually smooth out. It's important to have something like a spatula that you can scrape the bottom with to keep it from burning. Once all those chunks were stirred out, it was time to transfer to the pan. It was a bit of a struggle. I wouldn't want to have this be any thicker. Here's why I'm glad it didn't fill out the whole pan. Look how easily this comes out. The parchment paper was essential in not making the huge mess too. As I cut these up and decorate them with powdered sugar in preparation for the opening shot and thumbnail, I have to say that these have grown on me over the several days it has taken to edit this video. I was initially weirded out by having something coffee flavored in gelatin form. Added that the fact that these were warm when I tried them, it made them seem kind of gross, which makes sense. Hot and cold coffee tastes great. Coffee that's just a little above room temperature, disgusting. So they were much better after sitting in the fridge overnight. It also took me a while to get used to them not tasting like chocolate, despite looking like they should. I mean, I knew these were made of coffee, but for the first 10 or 15 pieces that I ate, I felt like I was being duped.
It's false advertising, I tell you. But like I said, I've grown to enjoy these and I've eaten way more than I should have. If I were to do this again, I might do it with a simpler crust. I'm not sure how necessary it is to have the pumpkin in there. It's really the spices that make it taste like fall, not so much the pumpkin. So that's it for this video. Just wanted to try something a little unconventional. Please show your support by liking this video and subscribe if you want to see me make more stuff. Thank you for watching.